Hey friends, welcome back to Peace and Power, the peace of Jesus Christ to change your life, the power of God to change the world, and we will continue our journey through the Book of Ruth, learning how to study Scripture as we study the Book of Ruth. This will be the second video of the second week, and last time we looked at dividing the first chapter or the first section or the first act into three parts. We saw that verses 6 through 7 had the decision to leave, and we looked at those verses. But we also saw that there was another section, 8 through 18, conversation along the way, which we will get to in the next video. We're going to do things a little out of order. In this video, we're going to be talking about verses 19 through 22 and the arrival at Bethlehem. Or these verses are going to be establishing the conflict, trying to figure out what the conflict in the plot of the story will be. So let me read these verses to you. And starting at verse 19, again, I'm reading out of the Holman translation. The two of them, Naomi and Ruth, traveled until they came to Bethlehem. When they entered Bethlehem, the whole town was excited about their arrival. And the local women exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" "Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara," she answered, "for the Almighty has made me very bitter. I left full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has pronounced judgment on me, and the Almighty has afflicted me?" So Naomi came back from the land of Moab with her daughter-in-law Ruth, the Moabitess. They arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. That's the section we're going to be looking at today, and it basically is the section that establishes the conflict. Now, looking at this, it would be able to say that the conflict is that Naomi has gone from full to empty, and that from the introduction, we know that that is referring to the fact that both her husband and her two children have died in the land of Moab. This is the conflict. As we've seen, if Naomi is the main character, then the conflict with the main character would be this going from full to empty. Now let's think about that. If Naomi is the protagonist and this is the conflict, who is the antagonist of the story of Ruth? Now, before you think too much on that, I want to establish some parameters about what an antagonist is. The antagonist is not necessarily always the bad guy or the villain. The antagonist is the character that brings conflict into the life of the protagonist. Who brings the conflict into Naomi's story? Well, that would be God. God is who Naomi sees as her antagonist. I mean, verses 20 through 21 make this clear. The Almighty has made me very bitter. The Lord has brought me back empty. The Lord has pronounced judgment on me. The Almighty has afflicted me. These verses make it clear that Naomi believes that the conflict in her life is directly from the Lord, from God. That would make the antagonist of the story God. God has emptied Naomi and has left her vulnerable and bitter. God has afflicted her. Now, if that is the conflict, there's three possible resolutions. Naomi wins out over God, and the conflict is resolved by Naomi winning. That usually doesn't happen when your antagonist is God. Second possible solution is God crushes and defeats Naomi. That ultimately Naomi is overwhelmed by the conflict that has been brought into her life by God. However, if we've read the Book of Ruth, which I've encouraged you to do a couple times now, you will realize that this conflict is resolved by God and Naomi reconciling. There comes a reconciliation between the protagonist and the antagonist, and God and Naomi have reconciled. Now, I know we've been working through this idea of, figuring out what it says, looking at what it means, and then learning to apply. But I think we have enough idea of what it says and what it means to make a little bit of a mid-story application here. Conflict with God might be exactly what you need, especially if it is resolved properly. Conflict with God is not always a bad thing. It might be what God is using to move you closer to Him. And that's what we see in the book of Naomi, that this conflict that is brought about by God will continue to move Naomi closer to God. Well, that's all we wanted to cover on those verses for this video. Again, you can always join us live on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time via Zoom, or continue to watch these weekly wrap-ups on YouTube and at the WordPress blog. All that information will be in the comments below. If you want that Zoom link, contact me directly. Also, as always, find us on social media: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, WordPress, and YouTube. All those links are in the comments below as well. Thank you for joining us this time, and I hope I see you soon.